Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit CyclesWorldwide.com where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at CyclesWorldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now.
Hey, One Gang, if you enjoy the podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can turn notifications on to hear when new episodes are dropped, too. Any of your engagement supports the show and helps us book great guests and keeps us going. If you or a friend would make a great guest, hit us up at CyclesWorldwide.com or drop a comment. Thank you guys so much.
One Gang Worldwide podcast, brought to you by Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping. Since 1978, Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping has been the trusted name in transporting motorcycles safely across the country. With custom designed pallets and air ride trailers, your bike is secure and protected every step of the way. By choosing Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping, you're supporting a dedicated small business that prioritizes quality and customer satisfaction. Ship with a peace of mind, knowing your motorcycle is in expert hands.
Please visit shippingmymotorcycle.com. That's shippingmymotorcycle.com. And now, back to our show.
All right, man. The CycleSource magazine feature. Your People's Champ build was featured on the cover of CycleSource magazine. Take us a little bit into that, how that feature affected you and Alleyway Customs as a small business. And did it feel like a true validation for all the hard work you've been putting into this?
Well, I think about this sometimes. The People's Champ competition and that whole Born Free competition put things into perspective. Everybody says, "Oh, life's not fair," and whatever. And the problem with what happened our year is the person that won, that was very controversial, not just from our perspective, but everyone there. When I got to California, it was like, can you believe, that the person won? And it kind of boiled down to possibly, I don't want to speculate and make any enemies or anything like that. It's not like that, but it seemed like it could have been who and that was kind of a tough one to swallow for everybody, not just myself. I wasn't like forecasted to win or whatever. Everybody else, the other five were also awesome bikes. And, so what that ended up happening long term is that sometimes who can work out in your favor as well. And there's a balance. So I had come to know Chris and now Heather Callan. I knew Chris before him and Heather were married from when I used to hang out at Willie's in Daytona. Chris was around all the time. And he didn't really remember me because I made that big distance from the band stuff where I didn't really want it. I wanted everything going on with Alleyway to hold its own merit and not be in association with, oh, you remember Fish from Kings of Hell, which I appreciate all that, but I really wanted the work to be seen and respected and hold its own, what I mean? So the CycleSource cover was the first time on a national level that was, that the work was recognized. And that was, I still thank, I'm very thankful for that. And that was I didn't know that me riding the bike was going to be on the cover, we had talked about that loosely, and Jim Arbogast, a good friend of mine, photographer he's down by Orlando right now. He shot the bike at the Tennessee Motorcycle and Music Revival that year. We were up there for the Bill Dodds Invitational, and we submitted the photos. I did a little backstory, and then all of a sudden, Chris sends me a text. It's like, now I got to look at your ugly face for the next 3 months or whatever. And I was like, holy crap.
That's so cool.
It's like, like that, you know what I mean? Which, it's pretty crazy when you have random people. I know a lot of people do various things that have happened in my life and people around me's lives. And I get random texts from people like, I was just going grocery shopping, right? Cruising by the magazine aisle, and then I see this, and so it was huge, man. It was huge.
Yeah.
And still is. I'm looking at that company does the little laminates you put up in your office and stuff. And it was a very proud moment. And I'm very, very appreciative of Chris and Heather and everybody at Source Media and everything, and
incredible.
You ever think when you started, man, with all this stuff and, paying guys to come in to do the job so you can learn. You were getting an actual true education, hands-on education from friends and builders that you knew. And then all of a sudden here you are, right? This guy who kind of came up from music scene and the skateboard scene to building bikes. And all of a sudden you're on this national and international magazine. So, how was business after that cover?
Business was great. You know, I think it definitely was a feather in the cap of the
Right.
business where people, you know, would hold you to a certain level of professionalism and what kind of quality of work you were going to put out, which is good and bad. You know, when you're dealing locally and regionally doing paint work for people that are doing stuff on a budget. And, you know, I had to kind
Yeah.
of, for the longest time, I did our little signature, which it's an A with a K that comes the other direction. And that's my personal signature that I would put on everything. And I kind of stopped putting them on some paint jobs that I was doing because they were not really over the top
Understand.
stuff, you know. So
Yeah,
it was a weird balance to have to figure out on your own without underselling different types of customers, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But it was huge. That segued into me becoming an informal staff writer for CycleSource, and then the stuff happened when they the short run they have with the performance magazine Torque. I was a staff writer with that magazine
That's cool.
there as well, and which was another surreal thing to, you know, some of the Skype and Clubhouse phone calls to format that new magazine that I was involved in. You know, I'd look up on the screen and there'd be 12 different people on there and very heavy people in the motorcycle industry. And, you know, I did a lot of mouth shut, ears open
Right,
in those
right.
conversations.
Yeah.
But to be on the same screen was,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
killer, man. That's killer.
trickle of so many surreal things that, you know, you're so thankful and grateful for, but you never really,
Hey, do you
know.
still have some of those articles? Do you still have some of those articles you did?
Oh, the CycleSource
Yes,
ones and the
sir.
Torque ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that we did a lot of video stuff, where I had a wheel, I think it's on their YouTube or their Greasing Gears TV, where I do a star hub rebuild and a wheel lace. You know, this like a 3-part series, and then one of our saddle seat videos. And the stuff that's in print is just, I only wrote the features for our bikes.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was kind of, there's so many different people involved in different aspects of it, and it was different ideas and was growing to become different things where, you know, the tech articles were kind of handled. Jason Hallman handled a lot of those things. And then, you know, other people were leaning in to fill their part. And
Right.
I kind of pulled back, you know, because we're busy anyway, you know what I mean? And just kind of let it fall into place. But it was a different kind of experience for sure, you know.
That's cool.
But truthfully, I had a little bit of experience doing that because all of our early features in American Iron, we had 2 in Hot Bike, 1 in the Horseback Street Choppers, the Death Machine with the Horseback Street Choppers. And the only time I ever got interviewed for one of those bikes was with American Iron.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know, which was crazy because that was the first one. So I was like, wow, that's crazy that it's done like this. And then that was the only time it was
Right.
it was really
right.
done like that, where they really gave you the rock star treatment. The rest of the time, you know, they're grassroots, somewhat publications trying to make it, so they lean on you it's your story anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're going to put it best into words, you know.
That's
So
right. Of course.
it's cool. It's cool to do it that way, you know.
Yeah. So, Fish, you mentioned Brushmasters, going to the Brushmasters Getaway. I'm curious, what was it like to be around those top painters, and what were your key takeaways? So I wanted to get into kind of what you do to learn and evolve as an artist. Did you gain anything from being around those guys that you've applied to your career now?
I would say the very most important one is Gene Winfield. I dare not move. I have it documented on the wall up here. The photos from when I met and interacted with him, and I mean, he literally held my hand. They had all these easels set up, and they had mini airbrush guns, and they had various they gave you a panel and some tape, and one day you laid out your designs on the tape. The next day you played with the candies and how to fade them and everything. And he actually explained to me how he does his signature, what's called the Winfield fade, of how he does his custom car fades. And he did it on that panel with me. And, I kind of interpreted that, not that I'm the first or only person to do that. But I do a scaled down version of that fade on. I've started doing it recently over the past year. I did 3 or 4. I did an FXR with John Jessup that the entire frame fades from a greenish blue to a lighter blue as the frame goes up, and the components kind of match where they lay out. You have to lay the whole bike out and have the frame to do it. But I've been doing a lot of fading lately that came from that. They taught you a lot of stuff at that school about using Surround paper to transfer images, which in turn makes a line drawing similar to a tattoo that you can do your designs with one shot on. Where the instructions fell short was, it would have been nice if we could have touched on some things that I ended up learning, which was line depth and shading within those designs, and I had to interpret some of the different stuff to learn how to airbrush fade a little bit, and your line.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not line depth, line weight. Whereas if you have a letter that's here and it's a box letter and you have a light direction that comes from this source, your lines would be heavier on the side to do a shadow, which makes your lettering go from just regular standard outline to where your lettering really pops and lights up. So there's a lot of that.
Kinda,
The primary focus on that school I went there was to learn how to do engine turn silver and gold leads.
That's cool.
That was very big and very hot back then. All of the metal flake was a popular design, or a popular method of painting, until Harley started doing heavy metal flake, and then it kind of faded out in the underground, I felt. So we were all there to learn how to do engine front, because that's where all
cool. Yeah.
The money was at.
Fish, what are you seeing now, like trend wise, in the painting world of the custom bikes? You're building, you and the guys, a lot of the builders now, especially for invited, the ones that are going to the Born Free show, are building vintage type style choppers, customs. Well, what are you seeing as far as the trends now with the paint? Where is it going? Is it the fade now, or is the flake still very popular? Take us a little bit into the trend.
The heavy bass boat flake has definitely been out of trend for several years. It started evolving into only pearl, and in different pearl patterns, which is still very prominent and heavy. A lot of the design patterns are almost going into a 40s or 50s style crab claw frame that they're sectioning off the different panels of the tank with, the line work will start in perimeter, that particular, let's say, a top of a gas tank pattern, then it'll have half the flame lick come in. And believe it or not, I feel like a lot of it's going back to a lot of distressed paint work,
really
cracking the paint, and a lot of satins and flats to make it look older as it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's two different. I feel like there's the cracked flat style paint, and then there's still the very flashy, which was probably what we'll lean towards, is very flat polished, high gloss. I use a lot of pearls, manipulate them in different ways and different panels and stuff, and maybe use a little bit of variegated leaf. The vintage bikes, I don't feel like ever have much of a call for the engine turn leaf. That's, so many performance bikes were using that. I feel like that kind of took that niche, that sort of thing.
Right. Fish, let me ask you this. The Born Free California show is considered kind of like the Super Bowl of bike builders, right? And you had mentioned in the past that winning an invitation is a major goal of yours, winning that specific build. One, why is it considered really the Super Bowl of bike building, the California one? And for you personally, what would it mean to win something like that?
Getting an invitation at all and being able to be in that circle and caliber of builders, that's winning in itself. If you were to actually get some kind of plaque or trophy there, that would definitely be a bonus because, it's I feel like, everything is so over the top there. Not that it's not over the top at different shows around the country as far as like Sturgis goes and different stuff, but the Born Free California show is very, very traditional, vintage choppers. I feel like I wouldn't be speaking out of turn saying that it's period correct choppers in that, at the very least, you don't put disc brakes on bikes that didn't have disc brakes when they came off, the factory or wouldn't have been available to, the parts wouldn't have been available at that time that you built. Like, for example, our 1956 that we did for Born Free Texas had a hydraulic drum rear brake on it and a mini Triumph drum front brake. It did not have any disc brakes, on that because that would have been what had been available in 1966.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't put modern components on that. And that being said, this is the 16th year of Born Free, out there. And having been there, I didn't know really what to expect. When I went, I had heard that the parking lot is as big a bike show as inside Oak Canyon Ranch, and it was no lie. It takes you 2 days almost to cover that entire event.
Wow.
It is just massive.
Wow.
The vendors, because technically you can buy a grass pass. You can finish the motorcycle and you can buy what's called a grass pass to get you to be able to park your bike in the canyon in there. You don't have to park in the parking lot out there. And your bike would be eligible to win best of show, best pinion head, best shovel head.
No kidding.
Harley
That's
Davidson,
cool.
whatever, So, it's unlikely because of the focus of different things. And
Of
now
course.
that the invited builders list has expanded from, a dozen and a half to almost 3 dozen, I feel like the focus, without speaking out of turn about it, is on the invited builders that, but there's that many bikes there.
Wow.
And, it's, I just feel like that's the way it's seen. I didn't coin the Super Bowl term, a lot of other people, it's a prestigious invite, like many people, there's a whole side competition to pursue involvement, being the people's champ, you know what I mean? And I've seen, there's people in the people's champ this year with some serious credentials that have done some serious stuff that are still, trying to find that in to be able to showcase. And California's what, I'm not from California, but I will acknowledge that many of the trends, if not all of them in the hot rod and custom car world from the 30s, 40s,
They
50s,
come from the West Coast. Yeah.
they come from there. And the availability of parts, I've always said is, you can't compete with a guy that can walk down the street and probably find a big twin flathead project readily available. There's a chrome plater 20 minutes away.
Right.
There's all the resources and all the people, and getting to know a lot of those people and become friends with them and the resources, it's hand over fist what everyone else on the other side of the country is trying to work with to be able to showcase there, and, people pursue that show from all over the world.
Cool.
So here's a fun question, maybe.
Yeah.
Custom bike building takes so much blood, sweat, time, tears, energy, sacrifice. What do you feel what would you say is the biggest sacrifice or some of the biggest sacrifices that you have felt from this career?
Time. When you think about it, you can't buy time, it takes an enormous amount of time and pursuing, like I was saying, just o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning is time to solve problems, maybe research something, whatever. But it's a struggle to really find out information and apply it and try and become mediocre enough at it to not screw up what you're trying to do.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was, I transitioned into, uh, I got a different, for years, all I had was a Smithy 3-in-1 machine, was a lathe, the drill press, and a mini mill,
Yep.
which is a hobbyist level piece of equipment at best. I just didn't really know. And I was thankful to have acquired it how I did, you know, and I had friends tell me like, man, you really need to get some good equipment in here, you know? And when I finally did, I got my 40s Bridgeport, and then I bought a 60 South Bend lathe and transitioned. The local Harley dealership bought my 3-in-1 machine. And I got those machines here, and it was an eye opener to see how it's actually done. And
How it's supposed to work.
my relevance to your question is that, you know, I had to study manual machining at night after my day is up. I get home in the early afternoon so I can spend some time with my wife and our family of animals and try to hang out. And we watch a little bit of TV. And when I normally retire and try to go to bed, many of those nights for many months, from 8 o'clock into hours and hours at night, was on YouTube trying to find people to learn information from and researching books. And, you know, I had plenty of resources to people that I didn't want to waste their time having them come in here and be hands-on and, you know, teach me how to, in my opinion, you need to properly learn how to measure with those. That's what I was doing, with trying to learn how to measure with the wheels and the dial indicators before you go digital. And that's how we were able to correctly measure what needed to be machined on some of these lights and parts we're making. And it was huge, but that kind of sacrifice and hurdle, like, most people want to go to sleep. Most people want to look at what they're interested in, and to not really have a hobby. You know, I used to collect a handful of firearms and go shoot every now and then. You know, I used to go skateboard here and there before I fell and got hurt. Honestly, just a hiccup with that. But I used to play a good little bit of music recreationally. None of that. It's sacrifice to make this company grow bigger, and my home life, and trying to make sure I treat my wife and family right and call my mom when I need to. But there's no really extracurricular hobbies you can squeeze in and attempt to keep the doors open, honestly, you know, with what just happened with the economy. And, you know, regardless of some of the, you know, commercial rent situations Sergio and I were talking about it a time ago. I mean, the electric bills tripled, you know, the internet bill tripled, and you got to get creative. Everything this past year, when things slowed down, everything, I used to have paint jobs lined up, and I didn't really advertise a lot, but the first 3 years every year, I would have bagger paint jobs or soft tail paint jobs lined up. I'd have 3 a month in here, and that all dropped off last year. I was transitioning into trying to focus a little bit more on consistent bike build project being completed and learning the manual machining, because we were dabbling in the parts line. This entire year of 2024, everything that I was planning on doing secondarily as a source of additional income became the primary income coming in the shop.
And that's stressful.
And I think that
that's wild.
It's a big thing that a lot of people, you know, it's hard. I know it's been difficult for myself and the people involved around here. I got some good friends and family that are supportive, but if you don't have a good, strong structure like that, it can, you know, it can be very trying, you know.
Thanks for that honest answer, man. That was awesome. That's what I love about what we do here, is when we talk to guys like yourself and people who go through that sacrifice and struggle, which kind of leads me to the next question. Basically, let's say there's a young fish out there listening to this podcast right now, and he or she is very intrigued and wants to learn, because that's the beauty of what you did, was you took the steps to chase your passions by learning and putting yourself in positions where you can pick up information. What's one piece of advice, or just some advice you'd give to someone that's listening to this, that's younger, that wants to pursue this, about starting out in this industry?
I could probably say maybe 3 things. Being humble. I feel I try to be as humble as possible. That gets you a long way. About halfway through this, when I was learning from Paul Rock, we were, I remember exactly what the situation was. We had barely fired a motorcycle up, and something was going on with the primary. We had to pull it apart. And I was like, Paulie, you think we should reuse this oil? And he's like, no. I'm like, just barely didn't even really get hot. He goes, nah, do it the right way. Do it the right way, you know, and to be able to stand by what you do. And I remembered that a lot to try to keep falling back on that in my head, like keep the integrity, do it, you know, do it right. Don't cut a corner, deliver what's promised. And you got to be honest with you guys. I only know this because people tell me this all the time. I say that whenever I'm dealing with a customer and maybe things are getting a little off, I wouldn't say they're getting weird or anything's going south, but I'll be very direct in telling somebody, I'm not doing this to have problems and have people be mad at me. I believe being very honest and open with your customers, stick with your scheduling. If you're falling off schedule, one phone call makes a huge amount of difference. Is calling up and saying, hey man, just so you know, the project before yours, a little bit longer, don't let them call you. You can feel them on you. You can feel the monkeys on your back. You know they're there.
Yeah.
Stay in contact with your customers and they'll appreciate it so much. And finishing stuff on deadline or as close to it as possible. I have so many people in the industry that I do paint work for and do little jobs for, even a seat job. You never know who you're working for.
That's right.
I mean, sometimes you do, you know what I mean? You never know who you're working for, but to complete those jobs on time, people say all the time, they're like, I think you're one of the very few people that does what they say you're going to do. I hear that repeated so many times. I'm not trying to toot our horn.
No, but that's a huge compliment because it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
For
That's
example,
what we expect these days.
Yeah. You're paying good money, especially our stuff's expensive. I'm not going to lie. It takes a long time to do. We've specifically found a lot of products that I thought would be unique to be done a certain way, and they're expensive. We just did a saddle seat. I don't do a lot of them because they're expensive.
Right.
An original OEM Pogo style seat. And did it for, I knew the guy's name. He wasn't in a big hurry, but he said, hey, you think I can have it by November 17th? Right. Well, it was on a handful of little projects around here that I need to get knocked out, just little stuff.
Yep.
So I started on it, and honestly, it was giving me a little bit of grief. I was way ahead of schedule. Well, he hits me up. I sent him a picture. I was like, hey, this is what's going on with the seat. It was in a molding stage, whatever. And he goes, oh, man, well, I had to change your plan. I'm actually going to be down coming through Florida a little bit sooner. If it's not ready, no big deal. But if I could have it on this date, that would be awesome. We coincidentally ended up coming through 2 weeks early. And he comes through and gets that guy was so happy. Secondarily, that guy,
over-delivered,
not knowing by his last name, ended up being Pat from Lead Sled's brother.
Oh, wow.
No way.
So imagine the trickle of disappointment that could have tainted your name.
Of course.
If you weren't on point. And that's nothing that I learned over 5 or 6 years at a time. You can adapt that principle right out of the gate, and you'll be helping yourself out immensely.
Right. Cool.
Hey guys, the show will be back in 1 minute right after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, One Gang, tired of feeling like your butt's taking more of a beating than your bike on those long rides? Introducing Butt Buffer, the ultimate solution to saddle soreness. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. These cushions are made from medical-grade viscoelastic polymer, scientifically crafted to eliminate pressure points and keep your circulation flowing. No more numb nuts or numb butts. And here's the best part. Butt Buffer cushions are made right here in the U.S. for the last 30 years. From Harleys to Hondas, we've got a cushion to fit your ride perfectly. Plus, with styles ranging from sleek pebble polymer to luxurious sheepskin, there's a Butt Buffer for every rider's style. Get your Butt Buffer today at buttbuffer.com. That's buttbuffer.com. Your butt will thank you, and you'll ride longer and happier. We've got your butt covered.
Yeah. That's it. So, future-wise, what's next for Alleyway? Do you have any projects that you're looking forward to or new approaches to the business, or what do you got going on for the next few years?
Well, luckily, we've stumbled into, right after we finished prancing, a lot of people were very interested in the cast parts we did for the bike. And, I didn't realize the amount of commitment it was going to take to make that happen and how it should be gone about. And it's evolved basically, to make the story short, into our own CNC produced line of headlights and taillights in 2 different shapes. So we're going to be
Sweet.
doing and pursuing a lot of that stuff. I feel like, with the economy being the way it is, you got to change it up. If I had, $1,000 for every time the company has had to change and shift gears and move a different direction, that's another important part. I feel like for longevity, you got to roll with the punches and come up with
Absolutely.
what your game plan, Serge. You had a shop for years and years. You know that your plan for 1 year or year and a half, or maybe even 6 months, things might be changing. And we've
Absolutely.
definitely shifted gears quite a bit. We have several bikes to build. Obviously we have the Born Free California bike. Having done the Born Free Texas show, was very flattering that bike, the Vulture bike, was at a stalemate for first place in Texas. And that just blows me away.
awesome.
It's just now.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom taking a leak earlier today. I was like, I can't even believe that happened. We ended up getting second place. Jeremiah from Bone Orchard, his knucklehead, won first place, and that was a beautiful bike.
That was
He's
a beautiful
super nice
bike.
guy. But to have had that happen, and it trickled into the California invite, and the guys that were on board as a partnership that on the Vulture are commissioning the California bike, and they have some other ideas. We might be doing a Chris Rosenberg's twin cam bike that was in CycleSource with Jade Penny. We might be doing or dabbling in a production base model of that bike because it's,
Sweet.
2013 96-inch twin cam with a 6-speed, disc brakes front and rear, electric start, titled motorcycle that, in my opinion and other people's opinion, a very rideable motorcycle. So we're gonna entertain that idea. It's looking like we'll probably do some other invited builder bikes into 2025, and hopefully to 2026. We'll have to see what happens, but I would certainly like to just keep pushing through. Really we're pursuing a little bit of marketing and distribution with those lights, because now that we prototype the lights cast here in-house. Like the lights on the Vulture are all one-off design, headlight, tail light, foot pegs, specifically for that bike. And then what I do is I transition into a small run of like a half a dozen that we have cast that were done by Greg King in New Mexico. He's moving back here to Florida.
Cool.
He won't really be ready to do that kind of, here's some prototype molds. Can you give me 6 of them or 4 of them? And then what I do is I try those molds out. We finish them up, which isn't very cost effective, but it executes the trial error, the trial run of, do people like this design? Do they like the shape? And see if that maybe we'll make a production run of them.
That's really cool.
We're trying to find good price points, when, we don't have $1 million to do this. So the price point of all of this stuff is US made, and I feel very proud to try and keep it US made, but it's very expensive, like our CNC lights, I'm about to have to bump the price up. So, they're going to go from $375 a light to $425 a light, just because I don't have the pockets until we potentially get some distribution to do 4 dozen at a time.
Right.
When you do minimal quantities and keep them US made, they get very expensive.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to a lot of that stuff.
Those lights are so awesome, brother. That was such a great That was such a great look. It's so sleek and beautiful, man. Great job on that.
Thank you. Well, we had a modular design originally. I took my buddy Booster Brad's advice, that does death metal racing. And he's like, you need to make a modular where people can do different purposes with it, which I think fits in the performance bike world. But in the chopper bike world, what that made was a very clunky mounting bracket, and in transitioning to the CNC parts, the body of the light has the ear tabs included in the housing of the body. So, and that has a standard 3/4 inch spacing. So any standard headlight block off a hydraulic front end, you can use that block to mount it to springers and hydraulic front ends. And it looks proper. It doesn't look too handmade. You know what I mean? It looks really professional. And we're excited about them. We're excited about them. You know,
Awesome.
it's nice to get them out there, and you know,
Yeah.
it's been good.
Yeah. And just a quick note, we're going to I see you've got a video of Francine from Instagram. We'll add that to the show notes as well as the lights, so listeners and viewers can check them out.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. We'll get to where you can find all that stuff in a second.
Fish, as you
Yep.
know, our mission here with the One Gang Worldwide podcast is really to inspire future generations by bringing on people who have done it themselves and are currently doing it, chasing their passions for the motorcycle industry to take us into the next century and the century after that. What legacy do you hope to leave, in the motorcycle industry? I mean, I know you're a super humble guy. I got a chance to meet you back 5-6 years ago, and just liked you right out of the gate, not only by your talent, by the way you are. Now getting a chance to really dive into your background a little bit and seeing you truly are not only an artist, but somebody who loves this industry, who wants to see it succeed for the future. Give us a little, tidbit of what you'd love to leave for a legacy one day in the future, because now this is recorded. This is going to be, in history archives of
Right.
one day when people look up Fish, hopefully they'll get into this. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to leave behind.
Well, it's crazy to think about how a friend of mine were talking about this morning, how he has a podcast, Jason Holman's podcast, and he's like, man, this is just, like you're saying, it goes into the records books, and it doesn't ever go away. And it's very flattering for people to be interested in your backstory and how you got where you are. As far as the bikes and the products go, I have been told that that Francine, my Panhead, will kind of be one of those bikes that everybody knows what bike that is, and where it came from, a little bit of its story, and that it's not the most unique bike, but it does have some history. And
That's right.
and I think I'd like to just keep putting out some bikes like that have their own little signature on them that hopefully people will remember them by. And kind of like how Dick Allen left a mark in the chopper world, where you can tell a Dick Allen style bike. I've been told that ours have a certain style, and you can pick out an alleyway bike, in a row of bikes in a parking lot, and that would be very flattering if that was to happen. We're starting to make them more and more signature and unique, as far as each bike being individual from the last one we did. So I'm hoping that kind of does a little bit of that. And then, as far as like getting the parts and stuff out there, man, it's really cool to think that someday maybe somebody would be digging through a swap meet, and pull out a headlight or a cast light, or maybe they would have enough popularity that somebody would be able to tell the difference between a cast light and a CNC version of that light. And, that would be really cool, man. And I think that's the best you can hope for, other than, in your travels, you go and you meet people, and hopefully they say that you're a nice person. And like you're saying, like kind of actually care, and, that can be a struggle when you're out doing shows and stuff, man, cause we're all human beings. And, I bring extra people with me, to help work the merchandise table and the parts table, so that I can try to engage people that are interested in the bikes and spend some time with them. I'm really adamant about that as being part of shows we're invited to, being a positive part of that and an asset, So I'm hoping that, it'd be nice for people to kind of not hate you. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Cool. All right. So Fish, I think my favorite theme about your story is the community and the relationships that you've built, and, a lot of just one-off comments about this guy helping me do this and that guy helping me do that. I want to open up the floor for you to, mention anybody you want to thank, your sponsors, what you've got going on, where people can find you, all that stuff.
Okay. Well, we're working with some great companies that we've kind of refined, and I'm really proud to work with these companies because, I feel like they're very quality, that they're at the top of their game, and it's, like getting endorsed by, if you were a skateboarder and know about skateboarding, it'd be like getting endorsed by Santa Cruz or Pal Peralta, or if you were
Yeah.
an athlete, getting
Sick.
endorsed by Nike or Coca-Cola,
Right.
you know what I mean? I do want to say that about them, and that they take care of a lot of us on various different ways. We do a lot of tagging people when we try to post on social media all the time, and that's kind of our thing where we try to network. These followers get seen by your followers and whoever. So I like to
Right.
thank Brian and everybody out at Paint Hooker Metal Flake for keeping us supplied with everything that we need to. A lot of their pearls and their flake is superior. They're designing colors with House of Color, and it's a great product. And I love working with them. We got Trace North Sunglasses. That's a great company out of Los Angeles.
Sick.
I originally came across them. They were like the alternative to Ray-Bans, and they offer a whole bunch of different styles and models, and they're also, more importantly for me, it's prescription and safety lenses.
Me
so
too.
they're a great company. Monster Energy drink, man, they keep
Nice.
us alive on them long 18-hour road trips, and keep us spazzing out around here on equipment and making deadlines and getting stuff done. So I'd like to thank them. Old Bones Therapy is a smaller company derivative from skateboarding into BMX and action sports. They make, I use their insoles, and when I had broken my leg, I was using one of their knee braces. So they're a great company. They do all kinds of stuff for the action sports, but they also take care of people that have injuries with supplements and some of the gear and stuff like that. Like I said, their insoles are a lifesaver. And there's a local company run by a guy named Wilson Torres called Nationwide Jacks Refinishing. They're a paint company that's part of a national conglomerate. They have a local distribution here, but if any of the ones around the country are as great as Wilson is, he was a SATA and Iwata airbrush rep, and really knows his stuff. I coordinate with that company a lot.
That's cool.
I use a Pantone color chart and say, hey, mix me up some Pantone 157 yellow and bring me some by, and then I'll take Paint Huffer pearls and manipulate those colors. So we're thankful to work with a lot of those guys. And there's several guys behind the scenes around here. Obviously, Mike Wilson has done a ton of stuff, being my closest friend to help out and be partners with the company and represent us all over the country when he's traveling and tattooing. And Chris Rosenberg does a lot of our vinyl and laser etching on these lenses that we do, and a lot of graphic work for us and t-shirt design. Mike Bianco is a guy that's been in-house here working with me for the past 4 months and helped me build the Born Free Texas bike. And Chris Jolly is our videography guy. He's a great dude too, and I'm really, really apologize. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody very important. Just can't be mad at me. And of course, my wife,
people around you.
my wonderful wife, Dean, that always holds it down the home front and has my back. And
That's cool.
support with all the stuff I do. So thanks to all those guys.
And your
Thank
activity,
you guys for giving.
yeah, your activity's Instagram, correct?
That's correct. So we are on Facebook, although I'm not on it a lot. We're mainly on social media on Instagram at Alleyway Customs with a K. But we've also been actively building a YouTube channel that's doing really good. So there's quite a few. We started that off with a documentation of Francine, and Bo Crum, a good friend of ours, he did a documentary on the shop. And that documentary is based on music, motorcycles, and skateboarding and the relevance between all three of them. He filmed that several years ago. That's on there. But what we're doing actively on YouTube right now, there's a lot of descriptions of some of the parts that we've made, hook controls and stuff like that. It explains how they all work. And then there's a little bit of instructional stuff on there, but we're also doing a lot of 5-part video series beginning to end that's taking a lot of traction on people. They want to learn how this stuff's done and see how we do it. So we're trying to do stages as best,
So
we don't have
you're
a big
taking
budget
them
for
into you're actually taking them into step-by-step process of how you build all this stuff?
as much as we can.
Right.
We did a 5-part video series on the Born Free Texas bike, the Vulture, where we started we'll do the very first video as like, this is concept. This is concept and our ideas on the direction we're going to go. And maybe on the second video, we've changed some things, but we're getting to the fabrication end of things. we try to explain specifically some stuff. I do a little bit of time lapse video, and then, I'm working on other people's timelines and budgets, so they come in and try to encapsulate that into, each video series. But we just started one on the Born Free California build, and man, it's really, it's taken traction. I don't really want to do a thing where we become a YouTube sensation or we do it for popularity. Between Born Free Texas and the Rockabilly Q show we just did in Charleston, I was very surprised and taken back how many people came up to the booth with questions.
That's cool.
About the videos on YouTube, and wanting to meet us and see if we're as nice as you come across in the attempt to come across in videos and stuff. But what I found is that it's working where we're giving back, to the community. And man, the first night we were in Texas, I went back and I told the fellas we were staying with, I was like, hey man, I need to recap a couple of these videos because people are asking me specific things about the videos, and I need to make sure.
Right. You can answer the questions, right?
Yeah, but it gives us an opportunity to, when meeting these people in public, you can have some questions for them and say, well, what are you having problems with? Well, how can we help you? What are you struggling with? Because I didn't have anybody that would help me, and I'm not going to be around forever. The people involved with Alleyway aren't going to be around forever. So if you can take some of the stuff that we had to learn the hard way and you can use it, get good results, make your life better, keep your shop up and whatever, that's an awesome feeling to realize you can give back like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So,
well,
that's
Fish,
huge. Right?
You made it, man. You made it. We've got about 1 million more questions to ask, but I don't know if people will stay tuned in for a 6-hour podcast.
I agree.
Hey, listen. So we're gonna get into the speed round. Here's the deal. You got 2 minutes on the clock. Right, 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll explain the rules.
Very strict.
If you make the 2 minutes, Ben will send you $1,000. If you don't make the 2 minutes, you got to build us both an FXR,
checkbook,
paint it, and send it to us here. Well, actually, we'll come pick it up. We're only about 4 hours apart. Deal?
Totally equal trade.
I thought the $1,000 was going to be a deal.
All right, here we go.
Right.
Let's do it, man.
Okay.
If your bike could talk, what's one thing it would nag you about?
Shit. I don't have enough oil.
All right, good one. What would be the absolute worst superpower to have while riding?
I don't know what you would call it, but whatever it would be if you would think about too many things. Multitasking thought too many times.
All right, good one. What is the best motorcycle you've ever owned or ridden?
The best one I've ever owned, my 62 Panhead was a great motorcycle. I had it for a long time. I replaced it with Francine, but I think my 51 Panhead Francine is probably the best.
Okay, good answer. If motorcycles didn't exist, what weird hobby would you be known for?
Probably some form of competition, pistol shooting.
Okay, cool.
I really like to, my dad got me into shooting guns, as a hobby. And then I like to shoot firearms a lot. So it's probably something like that.
All right. What's your guilty but go-to pleasure for alcoholic beverages? And if you don't drink, what's your go-to snack?
Oh man, I refined all my alcoholic beverages to, I dabble in, Corona Lights.
Corona Lights. Okay. All right. Cool.
They don't get me as buzzed as the other, even a regular, for whatever reason, I don't get too bad of a hangover. So, yeah.
All right. Good one. What's the most underrated piece of gear every new rider should consider?
Oh man, most underrated piece of gear. Man, I feel like maybe I would say, your grips.
Okay.
On your motorcycle, because I feel like your grips and, quality hand control components can really change the feel of a motorcycle. Like we've done a ton of dynos, street bobs, and revamped them and flipped them. And the last one we just did had PM controls and Harley grips. And man, that felt like $1 million.
Nice.
So
great answer.
Spend the extra money on grips.
Yeah. Great answer.
Nice.
All right. If you could get up on stage and sing or jam with any one band, who would it be?
Oh man. Because having played some musician, I have the bands that I probably could jam with, and then I have bands like I'm not a very good guitar player, so I have aspirations of probably playing outside of my ability. Um, I don't know. There's a band in England that's called Gallows, and they were a popular band about 12 or 15 years ago, and they're more of like a hard rock, hardcore band. But I'd like to play with them.
All right, cool. Cool. First on the
Frank
show,
Carter
man.
and the Rattlesnakes.
Yeah. First on the show for that band. So that's cool. If you could recommend one book, a film, or a documentary to every motorcycle enthusiast, what would it be?
Man, I know the one that affected me the most that probably I mean a lot of people talk about it. Motorcycle Mania.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Motorcycle Mania to me took every reference we were trying to find in Easy Riders, which was kind of your only reference,
Right.
or most predominant reference, and it put it into motion, where you could kind of see a piece of art. You're looking at how tough it is in well, it's on a video, but on real life, you see it in motion. You could see it working, and man, I just thought all that era just made them look tough as nails.
Good. That's a
You
great
know?
one
Yeah.
for sure. All right. You wake up with one voice of a cartoon character. Which one do you hope it is?
Oh man, not any torturous ones like Beavis and Butthead. You wouldn't want to wake up.
I
to
love
Beavis
those
and
guys,
Butthead.
man. They still crack me.
I mean, I would probably go with some old Warner Brothers one, like Sylvester
All right.
the Cat.
All right, that's
or,
cool.
Like what was the rooster? Foghorn Leghorn.
Foghorn Leghorn. That would
Foghorn
be
Leghorn, yeah.
that would be my guy. I love
like
him,
it.
man.
Start the day off with a good laugh, but he can kind of harass, tell you what you need to do.
That's right. All right. Best place.
I'm impressed with these questions.
All right. Cool. Hey, best place you ever rode and why?
Well, so the best place I was ever on two wheels to ride was on the Amalfi Coast in Italy.
Wow.
And we
Man.
were on scooters, and it was a terrifying experience.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'm from Florida. We're not used
I
to
know.
like big rocky
Big mountains
cliffs
and these high hills. I
Yeah.
know.
And we kind of had a tour guide over there, our buddy Dave Greninger, that would host me and my friends whenever we go visit.
That's cool.
He knew where he was going, and he just threw us on scooters, and I wasn't really comfortable on a scooter. And you put on this giant Darth Vader helmet.
Yes.
You just take off, and there's no laws,
Right.
and cars are crossing, and you're trying not to get lost.
Yeah.
It was terrifying, but it was a beautiful ride. that's
Awesome,
for
man.
sure.
Awesome. What's a common maintenance mistake that even experienced riders sometimes make?
Well, now you're messing me up because you're calling me an experienced rider. I'm just gonna see it. A maintenance issue. Man.
I mean, it can be anything.
I
It
wa- I
doesn't
wa-
necessarily have to be mechanical, engine wise. It could be like,
I mean, I feel like you get a long way by getting your drivetrain properly aligned. And I started doing that a little more seriously once I started building FXRs and started
Mhm.
using a laser alignment system, working off of
Underrated.
the leveling of the motorcycle and lasering the brake rotors. It started because doing it on a chopper is very simple.
Mhm.
There's not three different variables working on
Right,
getting
right.
that lasering done. You know what I mean? So if you just got your chopper or rigid frame bike, to just make sure your sprockets are lining up correctly and all of those tensions are correct, you'll have a lot smoother running motorcycle,
all right, cool.
in my opinion. I'm
Yeah,
not an expert, but
for
that's,
sure.
you know.
If you could time travel, which era would you visit and why?
1940s, right after World War II ended.
Excellent. Yeah, the
that would be
That would be
industrial
my favorite
revolution.
time
Yeah.
period when all the hot rods were readily available and a lot of that stuff was that's my favorite era of that's why Francine is built the way it is.
That's
and
cool.
does not have a long front end, and
Yep.
the Bruce Spiders era of motorcycling.
Yeah.
Short,
and,
short and
the era.
stubby.
That's why, honestly, that's why the Alleyway original logo had a tiger head on it, because of my grandfather's history in World War II and the World War II bomber fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
It had the tiger, flying tigers and stuff on it, because I would have liked to have been building some stuff with all the guys that got a mechanical education through the
Heck yeah.
military
Cool.
after the
That's
war.
cool.
You know?
Hell yeah. Last
Yeah.
dinner ever, what would it be?
Man, I eat a lot of ribeyes. I love them, you know, and
It cracks me up.
I eat a
All
lot of-
the guys is always steak.
I mean
Always.
steak, but there's a lot of variations of
yeah,
it.
yeah. But you know what I mean. It's
um,
always meat. All the guys go
yeah,
with
it's,
the meat.
I mean, I like a lot of seafood, so stone crab claws and king
Yeah.
crab legs, and
Nice.
all that stuff's
Yes.
real good.
All right. What's
Heck
the
yeah.
best prank you ever pulled on a fellow rider?
The first one that comes to mind is there was when I was a very novice rider, not that I'm an expert, maybe mediocre rider. There's a bar we would go to on County Road 210 down in Palm Valley, then between Jacksonville Beach and Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, and there was a bar down there everybody rides to, one of those bars I was telling you about. But this was kind of it was on the Intercoastal Waterway, and there was fishing boats that would come up, and it wasn't really the yuppie place it turned into now. But when we were leaving there was a couple turns and bends that you'd have to go through. And I didn't know, but my buddies, there was a corner that had gravel on it from all the tires. If you were in front of your buddy you're pulling the cranks on, drag your right foot if you took the corner, rocks all over him.
Right.
That was a little sketchier than it was. It really wasn't. You knew by the time. Yeah.
Prank though. All right, last one. Besides the One Gang Worldwide podcast, what is your other favorite podcast that you like to listen to?
You know, Jason and I from the Fast Life to Ride for buddies. And Jace is really putting his time in, you know, with making the sacrifices to travel all over the country.
He's incredible with him. Incredible.
You know, he's making the personal and the sacrifices to bring those people's stories, you know, where we can all listen to all that. I have a lot of respect for him. That's one of my go-tos, the honest opinion.
We just dropped the Jace one today or yesterday. I think we had him on the show, and awesome guy, man. Awesome guy.
Yeah. Jason's awesome. My friend Jason Hallman has a great podcast, the Garage Built podcast. He's been doing it for a long time. But I also listen to a couple other podcasts that are music related, because I don't know why. I might catch an old band that's been on there. I changed it up a little bit, but I like the ones that stay positive and you know, that little bit we good.
All right, man, you made it. 1 minute 59.
Nope, it was 2 minutes and 2 seconds. It counted.
And that was way longer than I was.
Ben is writing the check right now. It's on its way. Fish, in all sincerity, brother, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your busy schedule, giving us a shot here, man. Amazing work. We're huge fans. I will be up in St. Augustine, I think, probably sometime right before the new year. I'd love to be able to give you a shout, see if I can shoot up and check out your place and all that stuff up there. So,
you're more than welcome, both of you guys, and thank you so much for having me on. And I'm spreading the word. I really dig what you guys do, and you know, I like this story. Or this podcast is different. It tells a different story about, you know, the people you have on, and I think that's really cool, man. You know, so you gotta scoop it up, and congratulations on all the episodes, man.
thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.
All right, man. You got
All right. Giving to you and yours.
You too. Happy holidays.
Take care.
Yeah.
See ya.